Welcome to the March 26 SBL Insights. And my name is Steve Chen, the Global APC Course Director. Firstly, we created the free of charge pre-scene hub where you can get access to all the past pre-scene analysis from our website. So from that, you can integrate the whole SBL syllabus to the past pre-scene analysis to give you more confidence to make sure the answer look practical. Not only for that, I created the exam hub with the upcoming exam tips for the March 26 exam. You can quickly revise all these 10 key topics, using our lectures. Now, a lot of students asking these sort of questions, of course, by clearing these questions, you can pass the SBL exam relatively easy. The first questions that they often asked is how to utilize the time of the SBL exam. I would highly recommend you to use 15 minutes to link the exhibit information on the exam day to your answer. Because the marking for this paper is relatively generous indeed. The marks will be almost coming from the exhibit information plus where you can twist the exhibit information and combine that with your answer. And even for the professional skills marks, 20 professional skills marks, the marks are coming from the exhibit information. So make sure that you utilize them properly. Now, 80 technical marks means they need to write about 80 sentences. The length does not really matter, but into how many points? Well, I would recommend my student that one paragraph should contain the X, Y, Z structure inside, using conjunction words like, for example, because this means that it's likely that, and therefore. So one of these, for example, you can use this first one in Y and the second one in Z. It's entirely up to you each and every time. Could be different. Okay. So that's how we utilize the conjunction words and to give quality points in our answer. Now, the next questions that many students asked will be, what is the pre-scene material and when it is released? Well, the pre-scene material will be released 2 weeks ahead of the actual exam. So all you need to do with the pre-scene material is to simulate the real working environment so you can predict the next step. And no more than that. Of course, the step one that you need to do from my perspective is to summarize what's happening in the pre-scene using a SWOT analysis. So you need to do that, but do not need to do extensive summary on the current pre-scene material, but to use the background information to predict what is going on the exam day. And of course, when you go through my pre-scene analysis, I simulate into lots of real life cases and give you lots and lots of stories so you can simulate, you can predict the next step of what is going on. Of course, in my past pre-scene analysis, I did predict quite a lot of areas that actually tested on the exam day. Now, the next question is, how should I use the pre-scene material? Well, here is the trap. In your answer, try not to copy and paste the previous information into your answer. Do not do it. In other words, do not copy and paste the previous info into your answer on the exam day, because the only focus in your answer would just be the exhibit. Please bear this in mind. Now, how are professional skills marks awarded? I always tell my students just to ignore the professional skills marks, because focusing on the technical mark, if your technical marks are high, your professional skills marks will also be high. And that's according to the latest examiners report that the examining team always said that. Are specific models or frameworks required in the answer? The answer is no. For example, according to the March 25 Historical Places, that's a charity, that the examiner's report said in the task number 1, which means the question 1, the students are required to comment on the factors to consider when they're making the change. Some students' answer mentioned Porter's 5 forces and PESEL. But because their answer are linking to the exhibit, they get very high technical marks, even though that they get low professional skills marks, but who cares? So models are not important. What is more important is that you can twist the exhibit information in a way that the requirement is asking you for. When should I sit the SBL exam? Well, if you're working in real company or very interested in business analysis and the practical stuff, not for theories, I will highly recommend you to choose the SBL as your first paper when you step into the SP level study. Is there a difference between the old P1, P3 and the current SBL exam? But the answer is a bit yes. In the old P1, P3 exam, you will be given very long scenario. Not all the information will be relevant to your answer. However, the SBL is different. Almost all the exhibit information, you can touch on that in your answer. That's the big difference. What format will I need to use for my answer? Firstly, make sure that you understand if you're asked about reports, briefing notes, emails, and so on. So put the headings in the middle. And then as the introduction paragraph, put that in there. And then the conclusion paragraph, put that in there. But more importantly is the main body of your answer using X, Y, Z structure. That's very, very important. Does the pre-scene replace the needs to go through the syllabus? The answer is no. But I try my best to link all the syllabus knowledge to the pre-scene material. If you go through my past pre-scene analyses, and you will find them extremely useful. Okay, even though you haven't covered the entire SBL syllabus, that does not really matter. Finally, if you've got any questions, just send us an email. We're more than happy to answer your queries. And don't forget to check out the latest exam tips for the March 26 on our website, www.globalapc.com. And I wish you the very best of luck with your upcoming sitting exam.